and near-death experiences. Moments when people claim to have glimpsed the afterlife are often filled with profound and startling revelations. Today, we're delving into one such story that is both chilling and thought-provoking. Imagine being clinically dead and finding yourself in a realm of unimaginable terror. This is the tale of a man who says he saw hell, a place of eternal torment, and encountered some of history's most infamous figures. Among them was Adolf Hitler, enduring perpetual punishment for his earthly sins. This narrative isn't just about the horror of hell, but also a journey of transformation. The man, once a skeptic, was forever changed by this harrowing experience. His vivid descriptions and the shocking details of what he witnessed provide a stark reminder of the consequences of our actions. As we explore his story, consider the weight of these experiences and the lessons they may hold for all of us. John Smith, a 45-year-old businessman, had always been a skeptic. Raised in a secular household, he dismissed notions of the afterlife as mere superstition. John's life took a drastic turn one fateful evening in 2018. While driving home late at night, he was involved in a severe car accident. The impact left him critically injured, and doctors soon pronounced him clinically dead. During those few minutes when his heart stopped beating, John experienced something that would forever change his life. He recalls feeling a sudden detachment from his body, as if floating above the wreckage. From there, he was swiftly drawn into a tunnel of light. What he encountered next was beyond anything he could have imagined. A vivid and horrifying journey into the depths of hell. This is where John's skepticism was shattered, and his life was transformed by the chilling sights and sounds he witnessed. As John lay there, crushed beneath the wreckage of his car, he felt an overwhelming sense of fear and pain. His body was broken, and he could barely breathe. He recalls the feeling of his life slipping away, a cold numbness spreading from his limbs to his chest. His vision blurred and sounds became distant, like echoes in a tunnel. In those final moments, a strange calm washed over him. He realized he was dying. Suddenly, everything went dark. But this darkness was not empty. John felt himself being pulled upwards, as if an invisible force was lifting him from his broken body. He looked down and saw himself lying lifeless in the mangled car, paramedics frantically working to revive him. The scene was surreal, like watching a movie in slow motion. He felt no pain, just a strange detachment. As he drifted higher, a bright light appeared in the distance. It was warm and inviting, unlike anything he had ever seen. The light grew stronger, enveloping him in a comforting embrace. John was drawn towards it, unable to resist its pull. He felt an overwhelming sense of peace, as if all his worries and fears had melted away. Entering the light, John found himself in a tunnel, its walls shimmering with a radiant glow. The tunnel seemed endless, stretching out into infinity. He moved through it effortlessly, guided by an unseen force. The further he went, the more intense the light became, filling him with a sense of unconditional love and acceptance. It was a feeling so profound, he struggled to describe it later. But then, things took a sudden turn. The warmth and comfort of the light began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of dread. The tunnel seemed to twist and darken, and John felt a chill run through him. The serene light was replaced by flickering shadows, and the air grew thick with an acrid smell. He was no longer moving towards peace, but descending into something much darker. John's heart pounded with fear as the tunnel gave way to a vast, dark expanse. He could hear distant screams and cries, a cacophony of suffering that echoed all around him. The air was heavy with despair, and he felt a sense of hopelessness wash over. This was not the afterlife he had expected. It was a place of torment and anguish, and he was being drawn deeper into it. As he looked around, he saw twisted shapes moving in the shadows, their eyes glowing with malice. The sense of peace was gone, replaced by a terror unlike anything he had ever known. John realized he was in hell, a place of eternal punishment. His skepticism was shattered in an instant, replaced by the horrifying reality of his surroundings. In those moments, John felt utterly lost and alone. The comforting light was a distant memory, replaced by an overwhelming sense of doom. He knew he had to find a way out, but every direction seemed to lead further into darkness. The realization that he was trapped in hell was the most terrifying moment of his entire existence. John's initial descent into darkness was terrifying, but as he moved further, the shadows began to recede, replaced by a radiant, all-encompassing light. This light was different from anything he had ever seen, brighter than the sun but soothing to the eye. It bathed him in warmth and love, erasing the fear that had gripped him moments before. He felt himself being pulled towards the light, moving effortlessly through a tunnel that seemed to stretch infinitely. As he travelled, John was overwhelmed by a sense of peace and acceptance. It was as if every burden, every worry he had ever carried, was being lifted from his soul. He felt an indescribable connection to something greater than himself, a presence that filled him with. As John emerged from the tunnel, he found himself in a place of indescribable beauty. The colours were more vibrant, the air filled with a sense of serenity he had never known. In the distance, he saw a figure approaching, radiating light and warmth. As the figure drew closer, John recognized him as Jesus. The realization filled him with awe and reverence. Jesus' presence was overwhelming, not just in its glory, but in the love and compassion that emanated from him. John felt an immediate connection, as if he had known him all his life. Jesus spoke to him without words, communicating directly to his heart. John understood that he was about to undergo a life review, a moment where his entire life would be laid bare. In an instant, scenes from John's life began to unfold around him like a panoramic movie. Every moment, every decision, every action was displayed with crystal clarity. He saw himself as a child, full of innocence and wonder. He watched as he grew older, making choices that led him away from faith. He saw the pain he had caused others, the missed opportunities to show love and compassion. The life review was not about judgment, but understanding. John felt the emotions of those he had hurt, experienced the consequences of his actions from their perspective. It was a profound revelation, seeing his life through the eyes of others. He realized the impact of his choices, both good and bad, and how they had shaped his journey. Throughout the review, Jesus remained by his side, offering comfort and understanding. John felt no condemnation, only a deep sense of sorrow for the mistakes he had made. But he also saw moments of kindness and love, instances where he had made a positive difference. Jesus' presence reassured him that redemption was possible, that his journey was not yet over. As the life review came to an end, John felt a sense of resolution. He understood the importance of living a life of love, compassion, and faith. The experience had transformed him, opened his eyes to the profound truths he had long ignored. He knew that his encounter with Jesus was a turning point, a chance to change and seek a deeper connection with God. After the profound and enlightening life review, John felt a sudden shift. The warm, comforting light began to fade, replaced by a creeping sense of dread. The vibrant colours and serene atmosphere dissolved into a murky, oppressive darkness. The transition was jarring, like being thrust from a dream into a nightmare. He sensed that he was descending, being pulled down into a place far removed from the heavenly light. As John entered this new realm, the air grew heavy and thick, filled with the stench of sulphur and decay. The once soothing warmth was replaced by an unbearable heat, as if the very air around him was on fire. Every breath he took was laboured, the acrid smell burning his lungs. He was surrounded by an impenetrable darkness, pierced only by flickering, ghostly flames that cast eerie shadows on the desolate landscape. The sights of hell were unlike anything John had ever imagined. The ground beneath his feet was cracked and scorched, resembling a vast, endless wasteland. Rivers of molten lava snaked through the barren terrain, their fiery currents illuminating grotesque, twisted forms writhing in agony. The sky above was a sickly shade of red, filled with swirling clouds of ash and smoke. The oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily on his soul, filling him with a sense of despair. John could hear the tortured cries and wails of the damned, a cacophony of suffering that echoed all around him. The sound was almost unbearable, a constant reminder of the pain and torment that awaited those condemned to this. It was a place devoid of hope, where every moment was filled with unending agony. The very ground seemed to tremble with the weight of the souls trapped there, each one reliving their sins and regrets for eternity. As he moved further into hell, John encountered figures that were once human but now twisted and deformed by their sins. Their faces were contorted in expressions of sheer torment, their eyes filled with a haunting emptiness. They were chained to their own personal hells, each one a reflection of the sins they had committed in life. The sight was both horrifying and heart-wrenching, a stark reminder of the consequences of a life lived without faith or redemption. Among these tortured souls, John saw familiar faces from history, figures whose actions had caused immense suffering. He recognized Adolf Hitler, the architect of unimaginable atrocities, now reduced to a pitiful figure enduring eternal punishment. Hitler's once authoritative presence was now a shadow of its former self, his face etched with the pain and horror of his deeds. He was surrounded by the very victims he had condemned, their silent reproach a constant reminder of his guilt. John also saw other infamous figures, each suffering in their own unique hell. Their punishments were tailored to their sins, a reflection of the pain they had inflicted on others. The sight was a powerful reminder of the justice that awaited those who lived lives of cruelty and malice. It was a place where every action, every decision, was accounted for, and the scales of justice were balanced. The sensory details of hell were overwhelming. The heat was suffocating, the stench of decay and burning flesh ever present. The ground beneath him seemed to pulse with malevolent energy, each step a reminder of the horrors that surrounded him. The screams of the damned echoed in his ears, a constant reminder of the unending torment that awaited those who turned away from the light. John's journey through hell was a harrowing experience, one that left an indelible mark on his soul. It was a place of unimaginable suffering, where every sin was magnified and every regret relived. The vivid imagery and sensory details of hell painted a picture of a place no one would ever want to find themselves in. It was a stark reminder of the consequences of a life lived without faith, a powerful call to seek redemption and embrace the light. As he continued to witness the horrors of hell, John felt a renewed sense of purpose. His journey had shown him the depths of despair that awaited those who turned away from God, and he knew he had to share his experience with others. It was a story of caution and hope, a reminder that it was never too late to seek forgiveness and embrace the path of righteousness. As John ventured deeper into the abyss, the air grew colder, a stark contrast to the searing heat he had felt before. This chilling atmosphere seemed to seep into his very bones, amplifying the sense of dread that enveloped him. The darkness was now punctuated by the sinister presence of demonic beings, their malevolent energy palpable. These creatures were grotesque, with twisted forms and glowing, hate-filled eyes. They moved with an eerie grace, their every motion exuding malice and cruelty. The demons seemed to take pleasure in the suffering around them. John watched in horror as they tormented the souls of the damned, their laughter echoing through the infernal landscape. These demonic entities were masters of deception and pain, their very presence a reminder of the evil that exists in the world. Their methods of torment were as varied as they were brutal, each designed to inflict maximum anguish and despair. John saw souls being subjected to unimaginable punishments, each tailored to the sins they had committed in life. One soul, a former tyrant, was bound in chains of fire, his screams mingling with the crackling of the flames. His tormentors relished his agony, their dark forms dancing in the shadows. Another soul, a woman who had lived a life of deceit, was caught in an endless cycle of lies, her words twisting and turning against her, causing her unending torment. The atmosphere was thick with despair and hopelessness. The very air seemed to vibrate with the sorrow and regret of the condemned. Every corner of this dark realm was filled with suffering, the cries of the damned a constant reminder of the consequences of their actions. John could feel the weight of their despair, a heavy cloak that threatened to suffocate him. The sight was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the light, and warmth he had experienced during his life review. In the distance, John noticed a group of souls huddled together, their faces etched with fear and sorrow. They were tormented by a particularly vicious demon, its grotesque form towering over them. The demon's eyes gleamed with malevolence as it inflicted pain, its laughter a chilling sound that cut through the darkness. The soul's suffering was palpable, their cries a haunting melody of regret and sorrow. John saw that these souls were not only being punished physically but also psychologically. Their worst fears and memories were brought to life, each one a vivid reminder of their sins. One soul, a man who had lived a life of greed, was surrounded by illusions of wealth, only to see them turn to ash in his hands. Another, a woman who had betrayed those closest to her, was constantly haunted by the faces of those she had wronged, their eyes filled with accusation and pain. The torment was unending, a relentless cycle of pain and regret. The demons took pleasure in this suffering, their presence a constant reminder of the darkness that can consume a soul. John could feel their malevolent gaze upon him, their whispers of torment echoing in his mind. The hopelessness was suffocating, a stark reminder of the consequences of turning away from the light. Despite the overwhelming despair, John felt a sense of resolve. He knew that his journey through this dark realm had a purpose. The horrors he witnessed were a powerful testament to the reality of sin and its consequences. The suffering of these souls was a stark reminder of the importance of faith and redemption. It was a call to action, a plea to seek forgiveness and embrace the light. As John continued to witness the torments of hell, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. His experience was a powerful message, a story that needed to be shared. It was a reminder of the choices we make in life and the consequences they carry. The vivid imagery and sensory details of hell were a powerful testament to the reality of sin and redemption. John's journey was not just a tale of despair, but also a message of hope and a call to embrace the path of righteousness. The experience was transformative, leaving John with a profound understanding of the stakes of our earthly lives. The encounters with demons and suffering souls were a powerful reminder of the consequences of turning away from God's light. It was a journey that reinforced his faith and strengthened his resolve to live a life of compassion and righteousness. As John continued his harrowing journey through the depths of hell, he came upon a scene that filled him with a new kind of horror. Amidst the suffering souls and demonic beings, he saw a figure that was unmistakable. Adolf Hitler, the notorious dictator responsible for the deaths of millions, stood in a state of perpetual torment. Hitler's appearance was a ghastly reflection of his evil deeds. His face, once commanding and filled with arrogance, was now contorted with pain and fear. The flames of hell licked at his body, and the stench of sulphur filled the air. His eyes, once cold and calculating, now mirrored the terror of his eternal punishment. His once powerful presence was reduced to a wretched, tormented soul. John felt a wave of shock and revulsion wash over him. Seeing such a figure in this state was a powerful testament to the consequences of immense evil. Hitler's torment was unending, a fitting punishment for the atrocities he had committed. The demons assigned to his torment were relentless, their methods as cruel as they were varied. They inflicted every imaginable agony upon him, and yet his suffering continued without respite. As John watched, he saw Hitler's tormentors subject him to a series of punishments that reflected the horrors he had inflicted upon the world. He was surrounded by the faces of those he had wronged. The millions of innocent lives lost in the Holocaust, the soldiers who had died in World War II, and the countless families torn apart by his actions. Their anguished cries echoed around him, a constant reminder of his guilt. The demons also played upon Hitler's fears and regrets. He was forced to relive his most heinous acts, each one a vivid nightmare that consumed his very being. He saw the concentration camps, the mass graves, the devastation of entire cities. Each vision was accompanied by the screams of his victims, their pain and suffering etched into his soul. John's revulsion was mixed with a deep sense of justice. The sight of Hitler, in such a state reinforced the notion that no one is beyond the reach of divine judgment. The torment he witnessed was a stark reminder of the ultimate consequences of evil. It was a scene that underscored the reality of hell and the justice that awaits those who commit unspeakable acts. To John's astonishment, Hitler seemed to recognize him. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, it was as if Hitler's soul was laid bare. John felt an overwhelming sense of the man's fear, regret, and desperation. In a voice that was a mere shadow of its former power, Hitler spoke, his words dripping with sorrow and remorse. "I thought I was invincible," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I believed I was beyond judgment, that I could reshape the world as I saw fit. But here, in this place, I see the truth. The pain I inflicted, the lives I destroyed. It's all here, and it never ends." John felt a chill run down his spine. The words of one of history's most infamous figures carried a weight that was almost unbearable. The realization that even someone as monstrous as Hitler could experience regret and fear was a profound moment. It served as a powerful reminder of the ultimate justice that governs the universe. The encounter left John with a sense of profound unease. Seeing Hitler in such a state of torment was a stark reminder of the horrors of human history and the depths of human evil. But it also reinforced the idea that no one is beyond redemption, that even the worst among us can experience regret and seek forgiveness. As John moved away from the scene, he couldn't shake the feeling of profound sadness and justice. The image of Hitler's torment, his words of regret, and the cries of his victims were etched into his memory. It was a powerful testament to the reality of sin, the justice of divine judgment, and the hope for redemption. This encounter was a turning point for John. It reinforced his understanding of the stakes of our earthly lives and the importance of living a life of compassion and righteousness. The vivid imagery of hell, the torment of the damned, and the reality of divine judgment were powerful messages that he would carry with him forever. The experience was a stark reminder of the choices we make in life and the consequences they carry, a call to embrace the path of righteousness and seek forgiveness for our sins. As John wandered further into the abyss of hell, he encountered more souls, each marked by their notorious pasts. These were figures whose names echoed through the annals of history, synonymous with treachery, betrayal, and immense suffering. The encounters he witnessed were as varied as the individuals themselves, each tormented in a manner befitting their earthly sins. One of the first figures he came across was Judas Iscariot. Known infamously for betraying Jesus Christ for 30 pieces of silver, Judas's torment was severe and relentless. His face, etched with eternal sorrow, was a stark contrast to the once determined and calculating expression he must have worn. John saw Judas being repeatedly hounded by demons, each one whispering the moment of his betrayal into his ears over and over again. The sound of clinking coins haunted him perpetually, a reminder of his betrayal and the price of his greed. His agony was palpable, and John could almost feel the weight of Judas's eternal regret. Nearby, John saw another soul who had once wielded great power with ruthless ambition, Genghis Khan, the great Mongol conqueror whose campaigns caused the deaths of millions, was now in a state of unending torment. The once mighty Khan, who had commanded vast armies and instilled fear across continents, now cowered under the relentless assaults of demonic soldiers. They reenacted the massacres and pillages he had orchestrated, turning his own tactics against him. Each scream he heard was a reflection of the countless lives he had destroyed, each moment a replay of the brutalities he had inflicted. John then encountered another figure, infamous in modern history. Joseph Stalin, a dictator responsible for the deaths of millions through purges, forced famines, and brutal labor camps, was now enduring a fitting punishment. Stalin's torment was characterized by the very tools of repression he had employed. John saw him surrounded by the phantoms of those he had betrayed and executed. Their accusing eyes and silent screams bore into him, a constant reminder of his merciless rule. He was trapped in a cell, reminiscent of the gulags he had created, with walls closing in on him, symbolizing the crushing oppression he had inflicted on others. Next, John observed Queen Mary I of England, often known as Bloody Mary for her persecution of Protestants. Her regal bearing was now twisted by the agony of her punishment. Mary was enveloped in flames, the fire reflecting the burnings at the stake she had ordered. The screams of her victims echoed around her, their faces appearing in the flames, accusing her of their suffering. The weight of their deaths bore down on her, each flame a soul she had condemned. Her torment was a fiery reminder of her bloody reign and the intolerance she had propagated. Finally, John saw a figure whose presence sent chills down his spine. Ivan the Terrible, the first Tsar of Russia, known for his brutal campaigns of terror, was now in a state of perpetual horror. Ivan's torment was a twisted reflection of his own reign of fear. John saw him surrounded by spectral images of his victims, each one silently accusing him of their deaths. Demons recreated the tortures he had inflicted, making him the victim of his own sadistic methods. His eyes, once filled with the madness of power, now mirrored the terror he had once inspired in others. Each of these encounters reinforced the grim reality of hell and the justice that awaited those who had committed unspeakable acts. The torments were not just physical but deeply psychological, reflecting the specific nature of their crimes. These historical figures, who had once held immense power and caused immense suffering, were now enduring the consequences of their actions in the most personal and fitting ways. John's heart ached with the weight of what he saw. The vivid imagery of these tormented souls, each suffering in a manner befitting their sins, was a powerful reminder of the ultimate justice that governs the universe. It underscored the idea that no act of evil goes unpunished, and that divine justice is both profound and inexorable. As he moved away from these scenes of torment, John felt a renewed sense of purpose. The horrors he had witnessed were a stark reminder of the importance of living a life of righteousness and compassion. These encounters with historical figures, each marked by their notorious deeds, served as a powerful testament to the reality of hell and the justice that awaits those who commit great evils. The experience was a sobering reflection on the consequences of our actions and the eternal nature of divine judgment. As he hovered between life and death, the pull of the physical world tugged at him with an undeniable force. The sensation was surreal, a blend of reluctance and curiosity, a soul returning to its earthly vessel. Physically, the journey back was abrupt, a sudden rush of sensation as nerves sparked back to life, a body awakened from its temporary slumber. The stark contrast between the ethereal calm of the afterlife and the harsh, sometimes agonizing, reality of the physical realm. Emotionally, the aftermath was profound. Questions raced through his mind, echoing the lingering echoes of divine encounters. There was a newfound purpose, a clarity born from the brink of eternity. Psychologically, the impact was transformative. Memories of the encounter seared into consciousness, each detail etched like a haunting melody. Faith, once distant and abstract, now anchored in a vivid reality, a testament to the journey beyond. The experience left an indelible mark, a resolve to share the unearthly truths witnessed, to illuminate the shadows of doubt with the light of newfound faith. The return was not just to existence, but to a life renewed, with a mission forged in the crucible of the afterlife. The journey would lead him through the crucible of spiritual transformation, where doubts and fears were confronted, and the seeds of faith sown in the fertile soil of an awakened heart. With newfound breath in his lungs and the weight of the afterlife still fresh upon his mind, he faced a journey of transformation unlike any other. The encounter with eternity had not only marked him with its ethereal touch, but had ignited a profound change within his. His conversion to Christianity was not a mere turn of faith, but a seismic shift, a response to the undeniable truths glimpsed beyond the veil. The once distant God now felt palpably near, his presence a guiding light through the shadows of doubt and despair. In the days and weeks following his return, he grappled with the enormity of what he had witnessed. The sights and sounds of hell haunted his waking hours, vivid as though etched into the fabric of his being. Sleep came fitfully, disturbed by nightmares that transported him back to the realm of darkness and despair. Yet, amid the turmoil, a quiet strength began to emerge, a steadfast resolve to make sense of the inexplicable and to find meaning in the midst of suffering. It was a journey of introspection and prayer, seeking solace in the scriptures that now held newfound depth and resonance. As he immersed himself in the teachings of Christ, he found echoes of his own journey in the stories of redemption and grace. The doubts that once plagued him like relentless storms began to yield to a growing sense of peace. A peace that surpassed understanding, rooted in the promise of eternal life. The community of believers became a lifeline, offering support and understanding in ways that words alone could not express. Their prayers became his armor, shielding him from the lingering shadows of doubt and fear. Through their encouragement, he found courage to share his testimony, a story of divine encounter and transformation. The road to faith was not without its bumps and detours. There were moments of doubt, moments when the memory of hell's horrors threatened to overwhelm. But each step forward was a testament to resilience and trust, a trust forged in the crucible of adversity. Post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), a long shadow, its grip tightening with each flashback and intrusive thought. Yet, even in the darkest moments, he felt the gentle touch of grace, a reminder that he was not alone in his struggle. The journey of healing was slow and arduous, marked by setbacks and breakthroughs. Therapy and counseling became vital tools in navigating the emotional minefield left in the wake of his near-death experience. Through professional guidance and spiritual reflection, he began to unravel the knots of trauma and find renewed purpose in his faith. His transformation was not just a personal triumph, but a beacon of hope for others grappling with their own doubts and fears. Through his testimony, he sought to offer reassurance that even in the depths of despair, there is light waiting to be discovered, a light that shines brightest in the embrace of divine love. As he stood before congregations and shared his story, he saw the impact of his words reflected in tear-filled eyes and grateful smiles. Each soul touched by his journey became a testament to the power of faith and the resilience of the human spirit. The scars of his ordeal would always be a part of him, reminders of the price paid for spiritual awakening, but they were also badges of honor, a testament to courage in the face of darkness and testament to the transformative power of divine encounter. In the aftermath of his harrowing journey through the depths of hell, moments of divine intervention continue to unfold, each a testament to the enduring grace that guided him through the darkest of nights. Visions of heaven came to him in quiet moments of prayer, a glimpse of ethereal beauty beyond earthly comprehension, the serenity of golden fields bathed in celestial light, where peace enveloped like a warm embrace. These visions were not just fleeting images, but anchors of hope, affirming the promise of eternal life beyond the veil. The healing process was gradual, a gentle unfurling of wounds both seen and unseen. Each vision of heaven brought with it a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that his journey was not in vain but part of a larger tapestry woven by divine hand. Faith, once tested by fire, now stood resolute, a bedrock upon which he rebuilt his life. The scars of PTSD softened with each encounter with heavenly realms, replaced by a deep-seated peace that transcended earthly turmoil. Reaffirmation came not just in visions, but in the quiet moments of introspection, where prayers rose like incense, carrying the weight of gratitude and humility. The doubts that once plagued his mind were eclipsed by a steadfast trust in the promises of Scripture, a trust forged in the crucible of suffering and redemption. Through his journey, he discovered a community of believers whose stories mirrored his own, a fellowship of souls bound by shared trials and triumphs. Together, they found solace in the embrace of faith and the unwavering love of a God who never abandoned them. The healing journey was not without its challenges. There were moments of doubt and setbacks, reminders of the fragility of human resolve. Yet, through it all, he clung to the vision of heaven, a beacon of hope that guided him through the storms of life. As he shared his story with others, he witnessed the transformative power of his testimony, a ripple effect that touched hearts and ignited flames of faith in the most unexpected places. Each life touched became a testament to the enduring grace that sustained him through the darkest of nights. As we come to the end of this extraordinary journey, the echoes of one man's near-death experience resonate with profound implications for our own faith and beliefs. His encounter with the afterlife, where he witnessed the stark realities of heaven and hell, serves as a poignant reminder of the eternal consequences of our choices and beliefs. Through his story, we are confronted with the fragility of life and the certainty of eternity. It prompts us to reflect deeply on our own spiritual journey. Are we living in alignment with our beliefs? Are we prepared for the moment when our earthly journey meets its inevitable end? The vision of heaven, with its ethereal beauty and promise of eternal peace, beckons us to anchor our hopes beyond the transient pleasures of this world. It invites us to cultivate a faith that transcends the trials and tribulations of life, a faith that finds strength in the assurance of divine grace and mercy. Conversely, the chilling encounter with hell serves as a sobering wake-up call, a reminder of the consequences of spiritual neglect and moral decay. It urges us to heed the warnings embedded in his testimony and take seriously the pursuit of righteousness and spiritual renewal. In closing, let us not leave this story behind as mere entertainment or curiosity. Let it stir within us a sense of urgency, a call to examine our lives, strengthen our faith, and deepen our relationship with the divine. May it inspire us to live with purpose and intentionality, mindful of the eternal significance of our choices. As we navigate the complexities of life, may we find solace in the promise of redemption and the transformative power of divine encounter. Let us carry forward the lessons learned from this remarkable journey, allowing them to shape our beliefs and actions in ways that honor the sanctity of life and the majesty of eternity. And as we conclude, I invite you to engage further with these ideas. Share your thoughts about this experience in the comments below. Your comment helped us a lot. Till the next video, I will everyone's safety and keep your faith in God. And like this video if you found these insights enlightening and want to see more content like exciting forward documentary with friends and family who might benefit from its message. Subscribe to our channel for more explorations into meaningful and transformative topics. Together, let's build a community that values and strives for a life enriched with spiritual significance, not just earthly fame. Thank you for watching and reflecting with us on this crucial topic.